And now it's time to get into the conversation with our resident counselor, Simone Momplé, who's joining me all the way from Cape Town. Simone, good to have you back. How are you doing?
Hi, Khanya. I'm doing so well. How are you?
I am a PR answer or the real answer since it's Wellness Day. Can I go with the PR
You
answer for now?
you know that we only do real here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sluggish day. It's a bit of a sluggish week altogether. But you know what? We're mission on. We faith it till we make it.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, Simone, today we are talking about mental health rather, in connection with food when you don't let go of something. So we're talking about loss, right? And I think a lot of times we focus on loss or grief when we talk about big loss. And not that I'm saying it's not important, but there is also grief for things that seem to be rather mundane, but we do kind of, our bodies go through that process. So whether it's that favorite top of yours that got messed up in the washing and you weren't ready to not stop wearing it, or it's a cell phone that gets stolen, a car that gets stolen, misplacing something that you weren't really ready to let go of, and then is that grief similar, or that loss similar to that of losing someone that was close to you, a friend, or even worse, not just a breakup in terms of friendship or even a relationship, but to death? Is there a correlation?
Wow, yes, absolutely. This is quite a loaded topic, and I think let's just try to understand, what this means or where does it come from. And I think essentially as humans, we build attachment to things, right? We love things, we express ourselves through love, whether it's a person or things or even something we watch. We also trust. This is something that also connects us as humans, and we search for that connection. So, as humans, we're constantly trying to find a connection for ourselves, something that we can relate to, something that understands us, something that helps us to feel ourselves. And as humans, we cannot live without those elements. We cannot live um, a life solely just based on not having any emotions or feelings or attachments to anything. And I believe that people can do it. I do believe it. But at the end of the day, not having an attachment or saying that you don't have an attachment to something is having an attachment in itself. Okay, a little bit deep to think about, but let it sit with you for a while. So as they say, if you don't believe in something, you are believing in something. Essentially, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. So essentially, we have a connection with things and with people. So of course, when something ends or gets removed from us and it's not our choice, it feels as if we kind of lose a part of ourselves. Something of ourselves has been taken away too. And that's okay to think about because it is true. It is a part of you that has been removed. Whether it's that TV series that has ended and they're not going to make it again, you have sat and you found a connection with those characters, with the way that they tell the story, with the images that you watch, the music that they play, anything in there, it sits with you and it's found a place somewhere in your body, physiologically. So that means somewhere in your cells, in your body, it sat with you, or in your mind, or in your emotions. And it's something that has now sort of moved in, if you think about it. And it's now living with you. So when it stops, it's like, okay, what do I do with this space now?
Oh.
It's something that I have to look at and go, okay, so this thing no longer lives here, and I cannot do anything about it. I cannot change. I cannot go and ask those producers to please make another series because I need that space and to fill that with something else, or because I cannot understand how do I cut this off. So it is this feeling of loss that we do feel. As you say, whether it's something that might seem small or something that might seem huge, loss is loss. And it can affect all of us differently, very, very differently.
The
So understanding that, yeah, is where the basis comes from, that connection that we find, and that something does sit with you, and it moves in. So it's okay.
the voice there of Simone Momplé, our resident counselor. We're talking about loss, and we're looking at it from a perspective of those little things that people are just like, get over it. You'll buy a new phone, or get over it. There'll be a new show that comes on. Simone, something that I think is quite important, and I don't know if it's okay. This is my personal view, so please help me in terms of kind of figuring out if this is something worth holding on to. Is we are attached to things, and
Yes.
from my personal view, when I give it critical thought, I feel that attachments are hugely a cause of problems as opposed to connection. And I say this obviously as not a professional in the space, but in terms that, when you connect with something, you can appreciate it in real time for that moment. And that even if it does move on, you are not left totally distraught, as opposed to attachments. Where a lot of people struggle with attachments, because even when something is no longer serving them or even healthy for them, they still hold on to it because they are attached as opposed to connected. I'm not sure if you have any, kind of insight into my thought process.
Yeah, I think I do know what you're referring to there, and it's a very good point to actually distinguish between that, because I might have sounded like I was also using those two interchangeably. So attachment and connection is two different things, definitely, and both are sort of okay. But let's talk about connection. So connection means me in relation to something else or someone else. It's almost as if it's A and block B are next to each other, and there's a plus sign connecting them. So you operate in your own block, and B operates in their own block, but there's something that connects these two, which is the plus sign. Let's look at that, for example. And that is okay, because if A does move away, yes, you have a connection with him, and there will also be a sense of loss. It might not affect you as deeply as you say an attachment would, because an attachment would mean that block A and block B are overlapping. And when that kind of gets removed from you, it's almost as if somebody is pulling a finger off you. It's something that is literally attached to you, and now you're going to remove it, and you almost want to, stumble and grab that thing, because why are you taking this away from me? It cannot be that this thing needs to be taken away from me. And this is what we struggle with when something is attached. But sometimes we don't even know that we are making in a connection or an attachment. Sometimes it's so subtle. It's things that we don't see happen. And it's almost as if you are building that. You start with a connection, but later on it can be an attachment, because you didn't even see that this thing was creeping in more and more and more and more. And you were finding connection more and more. So it became something that latched onto you. And now, you allowed to latch onto you. And now we cannot remove it. So when we do remove it, we want to really it's almost debilitating, and it's almost helpless that we feel this thing got taken away from us, or this person got taken away from us, and we were not ready to let go of it. And that is something to just be aware of, not only when it actually happens and something gets taken away, but as you are building connection with anything, whether it's a new show that you're going to start watching on Netflix, be aware of what's going to happen when you start watching this thing. A lot of people say that they don't want to start watching a new series because they understand that connection and attachment that series might have in their lives, and it will take up a lot of space in their lives. So understanding that when you are building something, starting something, a relationship, a job, anything, and even when you just shake hands with somebody for the first time when you meet them, understand what that space is going to be like for you, and you can define it in that point to say, I find a connection with you, and that's great, but I'm not going to allow you to creep into this space and that space and this space. So that's where I guess we can talk about setting boundaries, or we can talk about allowing certain things to unfold in a specific way, and not allowing certain things also as well. We could say it's sort of setting your boundaries.
the voice there of Simone Momplé, our resident counselor. We're talking about dealing with loss when you lose that favorite, that favorite top of yours, that favorite belt, those jeans that just sat so snugly, and now they're destroyed, and there's a sense of loss. And getting from what we're gathering from Simone is that loss is loss because there has some form of attachment or connection to the thing, and we feel like we're losing a part of ourselves. We are talking dealing with loss, not just big loss, but also just the little things, the little connections that we make with things and people, to how we deal with them. And we've got, of course, our resident counselor on the line with me, Simone Momplé, welcoming you back on the show, and thank you so much for holding the line. Now, Simone, before we went to the beats of pleasure, the question I had put before you, was in terms of connection versus attachment. Now, just a follow-up connection following what you were saying, that sometimes a connection could lead to attachment over time. So my then follow-up question is, when you realize that I was connected to this thing, to this person, and now they are no longer serving me. Does that make sense? They're no longer serving me. So maybe a person betrays a friendship, a family member betrays friendship, or betrays trust, or whatever. This phone is constantly needing to be sitting on a charger now, and this job is not fulfilling me anymore. It's just straining me. Why is it that we tend to then hold on, which becomes the attachment? Because I know I'm no longer connected to this thing. I'm not connected to it, but I'm still holding on to it. I mean, what is that about?
Yes, that is a good thing to recognize as well, and just to be aware of that is also really, really good. So you build this attachment to people, and the one thing that you need to understand is that sometimes we are not necessarily aware of how this sort of unfolds for us. Um, so, um, what is the question again, Kanya? I got sidetracked there.
No, I'm saying that why is it that when we do realize at some point that I'm no longer connected to this
Yes,
thing and it's not serving me, but you can't let it go. You are still attached to it. And it's no longer a source of joy or convenience, or it's no longer helping you, but it's actually draining you, but you still hold on to it instead of
yes,
letting it go.
yes. So basically, yeah. So basically, what happens in that moment is that when you meet new people and you interact with people, you find connections with them. What happens is that when you are in their presence, they sort of bring out a specific part of you. And sometimes it's something that you've never met within yourself or you've never really recognized. So it's absolutely joy. It's beautiful. You love the person that you become when you are interacting with them. And it unlocks so much authenticity within you. You can just be yourself and you can do whatever you like and you feel free. And that is what that person is, almost like a trigger. It's like a switch. They are the switch that switches on that within you. And maybe you've never experienced it before with yourself. And then we relate that experience of ourselves with that person or that thing. And then we think that, okay, because I feel this way when I'm with that person, I can only get it from that person or thing. And that is not true. I was explaining to you off air that basically it's like stepping stones, that you are just going from one stone to the other, and it unlocks the next level almost within you, and you get to experience a new part of yourself. But know that that part of you does not sit with that person or thing. It's a very important thing to distinguish, is that that person just switched it on within you, and you can access that person within you or that feeling that you felt through any other experiences with yourself. And you don't have to attach it from that person to the next thing. That's where we find we go into sort of addiction behavior. But you can unlock that authenticity within you without needing that person to do it for you. And when you understand that, you can realize, okay, I actually keep going back to this person after they hurt me so many times over and over. And I'm walking into this thorn bush all the time, trying to find that rose that this person helped me to find for myself. And so we keep going back to that situation, even though it hurts us. but we want to find that thing that they gave us and they didn't give it to you, is what I want to say very clearly for the people at the back. They did not give that experience to you, they just unlocked it. And so now you need to understand that I don't need to go back into that thorn bush anymore. It's better for me to walk away. And yes, it will feel like a loss, but you're not losing anything because you've gained an understanding of how you want to feel. You want to feel free. You want to feel loved. You want to feel, excited again. So you can access those feelings without needing that person or thing.
The voice of Simone Momplé, our resident counselor. Now, Simone, as we wrap up about dealing with loss, big and small, of things and of people that we've connected with or attached to. So now I know that this is a process I'm going through. I'm going through the process of grief, of loss, of that favorite show that I grew up with, and it's been there for 600 years, all my life. Those jeans that were my go-to jeans, and when I wore them, everybody was just like, ooh, I've gained weight. That's no longer it. It's not happening. The body that I've known is gone. There's so many things that we lose, and we're not even aware that we're grieving them. Once we've become aware of that loss, and we start the grieving process, how do we then start with the healing?
Yes, and I think firstly, people just need to understand that you need to take your time. Okay, none of it is a rush. People say, okay, how do I lose weight? Well, it's not going to take quick, because how long did it take you to gain that weight? So these types of experiences that happen to us, you need to understand it's just a way for you to deal, and it's new. Nobody expects that when you walk into a new experience for you to know exactly how to do it. You need to be patient with yourself, but understand also that the way to kind of do it is to focus or be aware of what your routine used to be and what your current routine is going to be. So focus on the habits, the small things that build your routine. And I can't emphasize the value of a routine more, because there's so much research around it psychologically. And in most of the studies out there, they look at what does routine and habit actually do for us psychologically, mentally, emotionally. And it's very, very important that the things that you do define who you are. So pay attention to your routine, and then recognize that loss is something that will come, but you also know that gain will come. There's an ebb and a flow to this life that we're living, and everything that goes must be replaced. So be patient with yourself, in every area of your life. Take it one area at a time, and recognize your specific place in every area of your life. So if you, for example, want to start with social life, who are you as a social person? Recognize yourself within those settings and reset a lot of things for yourself. Reset the habits and routines that you have there. And then understand, and this I think is quite important, because it's a lesson that I learned, that some losses are actually necessary for those things that you are desiring that are next. So we sit in this idea of, and we spoke about this before, comfortable pain, right? We want to sit in that comfortable pain, as I was explaining, going back into that thorn bush to find the rose because it's comfortable and I know it. But you have to let go of that in order for you to receive the new things that are coming into your life, the bigger and the better and more beautiful things. And understanding that loss is not something that is removed forever. With that loss, you gained so much. You gained experiences, you gained understanding and awarenesses and all of that. And you gained an understanding for that, the way that sweet tasted, that they no longer make anymore. You understand that was something, a beautiful experience that you had, and you want more of it. So loss is not loss. Loss is also gaining. And that is necessary for you to give that up in order for you to receive those things that you've been wanting, because ultimately we cannot sit with everything that you've asked for today. Think about everything that you want: money, cars, the relationships, the family, the children, everything that you want in your life. If it fell in your lap today, would you be able to manage? And that's a question that you have to sort of understand for yourself and then go, okay, you know what? Where I am is okay, and understanding that from here on, I can do better and I can be better.
That's the voice of Simone Momplé, our resident counselor, as we wrap up our conversation around our mental wellness when it comes to dealing with loss and grief. Thank you so much, Simone. Once again, for those who've just joined us for the first time, welcome to Lunch with Khanya. Better late than never. And Simone, for those who caught our conversation in the tail end and would like to connect with you, where do they find you?
Yes, thank you so much for this. So you can catch me on all socials. I am Simone the Dancer on Instagram, Simone Momplé on YouTube and LinkedIn. And you can just connect with me anywhere. You can DM me and say, I heard you, let's talk about this. And I have sessions where we can unpack a lot of things that you feel, okay, I'm not quite understanding something. How do I move to my next level? And those are called Coffee with Simone sessions, and you can just hit me up and say you want to book a session and we can have a chat. Thank you so much, Khanya.
Thank you so much, Simone Momplé, joining us all the way from Cape Town. And we were talking about dealing with the loss and grief. And I think this is definitely a big one, and we might have to have a follow-up session on this one.